In the 1970s, few television faces were as instantly recognizable as Demon Wilson's. Week after week, millions of households welcomed him into their living rooms without realizing how deeply he would shape the rhythm of American sitcom history. He wasn't the loudest presence on screen, nor the most flamboyant, but that was precisely his power. As Lamont Sanford, Wilson became the grounding force in a show built on chaos, sarcasm, and sharp humor. His calm reactions, weary glances, and understated delivery created balance, allowing comedy to breathe rather than overwhelm. At the height of his fame, he stood at a crossroads few actors ever reach, when success seems limitless and momentum feels unstoppable. Yet even then, there was something different about Wilson. He never appeared intoxicated by attention, never fully consumed by the spotlight. Fame arrived loudly, but he carried it quietly. Becoming Lamont Sanford. When Sanford and Son premiered in 1972, it introduced audiences to a dynamic unlike anything else on television at the time. At its center stood Demon Wilson, cast as Lamont Sanford, the patient and principled son of Fred Sanford, played by the incomparable Red Fox. Wilson was just 26 when he stepped into a role that demanded emotional precision rather than comedic excess. Standing opposite a seasoned stand-up legend, he could have been overshadowed, yet he wasn't. His strength lay in restraint. Lamont wasn't written to steal laughs, he was written to anchor them. Wilson understood that perfectly. His chemistry with Fox felt lived in, like a real father-son relationship shaped by years of tension and affection. Through subtle expressions and controlled frustration, Wilson helped turn a sitcom into a cultural touchstone that resonated far beyond punchlines. Carrying a cultural phenomenon. Sanford and Son quickly became more than just popular television, it became an event. At its peak, tens of millions of viewers tuned in weekly, making it one of the most watched shows in America. For 5 seasons, Wilson's presence remained constant, grounding the humor in emotional reality. While Fred Sanford delivered theatrical antics and unforgettable catchphrases, Lamont provided relatability. He was the voice of reason, the working man, the son caught between obligation and independence. That balance is what gave the show longevity. Wilson didn't just react to comedy, he gave it context. Audiences saw themselves in Lamont's patience, frustration, and quiet loyalty. Without Wilson's performance, the show's humor might have burned too hot. With him, it endured. Long after the original episodes aired, reruns continued introducing new generations to a character who felt timeless rather than dated. Life after the junkyard. When Sanford and Son ended in 1977, Demon Wilson did not disappear. Instead, he kept working, navigating the unpredictable terrain that follows an iconic role. He starred in the sitcom Baby, I'm Back, demonstrating his ability to lead a show rather than support one. Later, he took on a reimagined role in The New Odd Couple, proving his versatility by stepping into material already etched into television history. Film roles followed, including appearances that showed a more dramatic, grounded side of his craft. These projects may not have matched the cultural reach of Sanford and Son, but they reflected something more important: Wilson's commitment to growth rather than repetition. He resisted becoming a permanent echo of Lamont Sanford. Instead, he explored different tones, formats, and characters, quietly redefining himself outside the shadow of his most famous role. A turning point beyond fame. What many viewers never saw was the internal shift taking place behind the scenes. As his career progressed, Wilson began questioning the cost of success. Fame brought opportunity, but it also brought pressure, expectation, and a lifestyle that felt increasingly misaligned with his values. Rather than ignoring that discomfort, Wilson confronted it honestly. He began a deep spiritual journey that reshaped his priorities and sense of purpose. This was not a sudden rejection of entertainment, but a re-evaluation of what fulfillment truly meant. While many chase relevance at any cost, Wilson chose introspection. Faith became more than a belief system. It became a framework for living intentionally. This transformation didn't erase his past work or diminish his talent. Instead, it added context to his choices, revealing a man more interested in meaning than momentum. Choosing conviction over convenience. As Wilson's faith deepened, so did his willingness to make difficult decisions. he became an ordained minister and dedicated significant portions of his life to spiritual teaching, writing, and service. Opportunities in Hollywood still existed, but not all aligned with his convictions. Rather than compromising, he stepped back. This choice puzzled many observers, especially in an industry where longevity often depends on constant visibility. Yet for Wilson, stepping away was not an act of fear, but of clarity. He understood that success without alignment leads to emptiness. Walking away from major roles required courage few acknowledge. It meant accepting obscurity in exchange for integrity. During this period, Wilson focused on ministry, family, and authorship, channeling his voice into messages that reflected his values rather than market demand. The long silence and a quiet return. For nearly 2 decades, Demond Wilson remained largely absent from mainstream entertainment. While others chased comebacks, he lived without concern for being forgotten. This silence was intentional, shaped by contentment rather than regret. When he eventually returned to acting in later years, it wasn't for validation or nostalgia. It was because the project resonated with him personally. His return felt less like a revival and more like a closing chapter written on his own terms. Audiences who rediscovered him were reminded of his calm screen presence and emotional control. He hadn't lost his craft. If anything, time had sharpened it. The return wasn't loud or heavily promoted, but it was meaningful. Wilson didn't need applause to confirm his worth. He had already defined it privately. A legacy beyond a single role. Demond Wilson will always be remembered as Lamont Sanford, but reducing his life to that role misses the larger picture. His true legacy lies in the choices he made when no cameras were watching. He demonstrated that walking away from fame does not equal failure. Sometimes it represents growth. He showed that success can be redefined without bitterness, and that faith and creativity do not have to exist in conflict. Wilson lived as an actor, a minister, an author, and a family man, never allowing one identity to erase the others. In an industry known for excess and ego, he chose humility and self-awareness. That decision may not trend, but it endures. His story offers a rare example of balance in a culture that rewards extremes. The meaning of his journey. Demond Wilson's journey is not just a Hollywood story, it's a human one. It reminds us that applause fades, roles end, and relevance shifts, but values remain. He proved that it's possible to step off the stage without losing yourself and to find purpose beyond public approval. For viewers, his work continues to entertain. For those who look closer, his life offers something deeper, permission to choose meaning over momentum. In a world obsessed with staying visible, Wilson demonstrated the power of stepping back. His legacy lives not only in reruns and scripts, but in the quiet example he set. Sometimes the bravest move isn't staying in the spotlight. Sometimes it's knowing when to walk away and being at peace with that choice.